Where's Terry?
Terry's not showing up.
Like the Queensland Origin team. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Rugby League Outlaws. As always, we're brought to you by our great mates at Top Sport, onelittlefootyfan.com.au and the Stubby Club. You'll probably notice this week that the big man Terry isn't here, unfortunately has fallen ill, so we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. He will be joining us via a very expensive satellite very shortly. But it's time to celebrate. We come off a fantastic weekend of rep rugby league, where the Blues clean swept the Maroons 4-0. Geez, it's a tough week to be a critic of the rep footy round after 4 brilliant internationals and, of course, 4 Origin games won by New South Wales. Of course, let's start with the big one where the Blues levelled the series in an absolute canter, if you don't mind, forcing a decider. And look, it looks like the Blues will have to be forced into a change as Payne Haas looks like he's going to miss up to the next 6 weeks of football. Not good as a Blues fan, but there's plenty of players to come in. I think Regan Campbell-Gillard's the obvious in, but look, all the talk in the next couple of weeks is going to be about the potential return of Latrell Mitchell. Stephen Crichton was absolutely fantastic on Sunday night, and Matt Burton is a hero amongst men. Will never miss an Origin game if fit again. But with Latrell Mitchell sitting there and the series still on the line, if Latrell's fit, you play Latrell. Terry, what about the Queensland side, mate? On the back of an absolute pasting, although they did win in Origin 1, well, that was so long ago, no one remembers now. Any changes you'd be making, mate?
Yeah, look, changes that Queensland will make to the team now. I think Corey Oates has to come in. Look, Murray Tuilagi has been in good form for the Cowboys. He was okay against New South Wales, but Corey Oates offers more. He's a little bit better defensively, a little bit safer under the high ball, makes more metres. He's a winner in a back rower's body, so he loves getting involved, doing the hard stuff. Defensively, he's a lot better. I'm not scapegoating Murray Tuilagi because they didn't, score 44 points down his side of the field, but I think in terms of changes, Corey Oates is definitely the one to come in, perhaps should have come in for game 2. You also have to look at what Queensland are going to do if Kalen Ponga is ruled out. Reece Walsh is obviously, the next cab off the rank, but it wouldn't surprise me if they put Valentine Holmes at fullback, put the hammer on the wing, put the hammer in the centres and perhaps keep Tuilagi on the wing. But I definitely think Corey Oates is one to come in. Obviously, we miss Ruben Cotter as well in that game. Just his enthusiasm, what he brings, his toughness, his metres, gets on the front foot. I think we need to find a spot for Thomas Flegler as well in the side. There's just, full credit to Jairo. He did what he could do, but he's not Ruben Cotter. And I just think in terms of go forward, we're going to need Thomas Flegler in for game 3.
Terry, mate, you can make all the changes you want in the world. You're not beating the Blues, even in your own backyard.
One of the big things that came out of Origin, bigger than the scoreline, is obviously the contentious point around Felice Kafusi sinbinning. Now, it had to be a sinbin. There's no question as to whether this was a sinbin or not. Queensland had 3 ruck infringements, the multiple 6 agains, a penalty to get them up the field, and then Kafusi decides that he wants to put his hands all over Junior Paulo and then lay on him. Ashley Klein had no choice. Now, to be fair to Klein, he reffed Origin 1 perfectly. Origin 2, I don't know what he'd been told, but the game wasn't as free-flowing. But in terms of getting this call right or wrong, Ashley Klein got this call absolutely right. Yes, it hurt Queensland. Yes, it gave New South Wales momentum. But yes, it was stupid by Kafusi. You have to know how many 6 agains that you've given. You have to know how many penalties have been awarded against you. You have to know you're in that position there. And also, he defends in one of the most critical parts of the field. New South Wales just went there and exploited it. Ashley Klein got it right. New South Wales capitalised on it.
Of course, the big concern heading into rep round was the potential of injury. Look, it's rugby league. The injuries are going to happen. We've seen players fall over in the shower, playing with their kids or playing rep footy. I mean, it's going to happen. If it happens, it's going to happen. But this past weekend, we got very lucky. It looks only Payne Haas and Kalen Ponga are going to miss extended time, with Ponga potentially only missing 1 game due to yet another HIA, which is a real concern given his history. Teamless Tuesday would have dropped by the time you see this, but at this stage, it looks like we've avoided any potential injury crisis. Rugby league, baby.
One of the things that came out this week as well, the Tigers on Saturday released a statement saying that Cameron Ciraldo had informed the club that he would not be joining them as the coach. Now, this doesn't really paint the Tigers in a great light. They've publicly courted Ciraldo and said, he's the only coach for us, he's the development coach, we want to give him a 5-year deal worth millions of dollars, he's the only one for us, we're not interviewing anybody else, and then release a statement saying he's not coming. Now, if any other coach is looking at this, potentially thinking about going to the Tigers or signing with the Tigers, they have to know the second choice. If they don't get the 5-year deal, why? If they're not given the same leeway that Ciraldo would have. I don't know. For mine, if I'm a Tigers fan, I would be embarrassed publicly about how they've courted Ciraldo so aggressively and missed out on another person to join the club. But just in the manner it was conducted, and then the statement, it was just cringy. It was just really, really cringy to release a statement to say that you've been rejected by a coach. I'm at a loss as to what to say about the Tigers at the moment.
Thanks, Terry. Those Tigers, eh? Gotta love them. Now, I want to take a serious moment, to issue a very public apology to a player that I was very critical of in the lead up to Origin 2. Look, Nathan Cleary. I called him Nathan Pearce. I called him Mitchell Cleary. Then he came out and had the game of his life. Nathan, I apologise. I should never have doubted you. Do it again in Game 3. Now, as we mentioned before, it looks like Payne Haas will miss Origin 3, but the man in the know, the Guru, is joining us again with more information. What do you got for us this week, mate?
G'day boys, thanks for having me on. Once again, a cracking game of State of Origin last night. The New South Wales Blues getting it done there. Very, very exciting for the state. Very exciting for Siva Talakai and Matty Burton making their debuts for the New South Wales Blues and getting the job done there. Very exciting. All eyes now on Game 3 on what changes Brad Fittler will make, and Billy Slater, of course. For me, I'm hearing that Brad Fittler will bring Latrell Mitchell into this side. I believe that if he gets through his game against the Parramatta Eels and shows some decent match fitness, I think he will be there come Game 3. I believe he will line up at right centre. Jack White, though, he's been one of Freddie's favourites for a very long time now. Where will he fit into this team? You might see him come up on the bench, but at the moment, I think it looks more than likely that Jack White and he will be the 18th man. For Queensland, I think they're seriously considering bringing Corey Oates in. Obviously, their back three really struggled to get metres out of their own end. I think they combined for about 160 or so. New South Wales, their back three combined for like 700 or so. So vastly difference between the two sides. When you have a look at the Queensland Maroons and the system that Billy Slater's building, though, he has sort of said from day one privately that he would be keeping with this 17. So interesting to see what he does there. But personally, I think the Maroons need a big body coming out of their own end. As far as guys backing up this weekend, I'm hearing that the vast majority of players will back up. Kalen Ponga, he is about to be ruled out. He probably would have been ruled out by the time you guys are listening to this, so he will not line up for the Newcastle Knights this weekend. And I'm hearing there's a good chance that Cam Munster, he will be rested. He's going for scans on his shoulder over the next couple of days. It looks like he could miss anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks potentially, but I do believe the Melbourne Storm, they will play it safe and they will rest him this week. A big couple of weeks coming up in the NRL before Origin 3, and then we start the run home to the NRL finals. It's going to be a cracking time, boys. Hopefully your Sharkies, they can keep kicking goals and keep climbing up that ladder.
Now it's over to Cowboy Kate, who was crowing pretty loud after the Origin 1 result. What you got for us this week, Kate?
Hello guys, how are you? Dan, I'd love to be able to rub in a Queensland Origin win today, but alas, it was not meant to be. I'm an absolutely shocking loser as well. That's something you should know about me, but I must give credit where it is due. New South Wales were totally dominant in the second half and deserved that win. Two things that came out of this game for me was that the best State of Origin game that was played this week was definitely the women's game down in Canberra. And while I'm up here in Queensland, I'll certainly be looking for that Queensland defence because clearly they have left it up here somewhere. Now, there were no regular round matches this weekend because it was rep round and there were some international matches on as well. And wow, there were some really good games over the weekend. But I did read that unfortunately International Rugby Chair Tony Grant has confirmed that no matter how successful the weekend was, no matter how much the fans loved it, and how much everyone enjoyed what the weekend was, this will be the last representative weekend that fans will see for some time. The long and the short of it, according to Steve Mascott on Twitter, is that the NRL have caved to broadcasters who want Origin midweek, where it makes more money, and to the clubs who do not like releasing players to travel mid-season. Redcliffe Dolphins coach Wayne Bennett thinks that this is the incorrect move from the NRL and that Peter V'landys has got this decision very wrong. Talking to ABC Grandstand, he said he spoke about how important these games were for the players. And he said, if you watched and saw the passion of the grown men who had tears in their eyes, you'd know how important it was to them. And I tend to agree with Bennett. These are the sort of events that fans absolutely love, the ones that they'll get behind, and surely it has to help grow the sport. Anyway, we'll have to see if anything changes in that space. But it certainly was great to see New Zealand fans back watching the sport and enjoying themselves. It has certainly been a long time between tackles for them. Hasn't the past couple of weeks been all about the women's game? Of course, the other week we heard the announcement that 4 more teams were going to enter the NRLW for the 2023 comp. And then on Friday night, there was an absolute cracking game of Origin. It was in Canberra, it was cold, but wow, didn't the women turn up the heat in GIO Stadium. They broke the crowd attendance record for a Women's State of Origin match with over 11,000 people turning up to support these athletes, and we could literally see the grassroots game growing before our eyes as the cameras panned the crowd. Queensland handed the shield over to New South Wales, who deserved to win on the night. The game was close, but New South Wales were definitely the better team. I was absolutely in awe of the intensity and skill at which this game was played, and it was as good as any sporting game I've ever watched. Isabel Kelly was player of the match. She was a standout for New South Wales, and I also thought Tamika Upton for Queensland was strong. I was absolutely buzzing after the game, but then was instantly brought back to earth when I remembered that this was it. That was the only game there was going to be. No more games in this series for us to enjoy. Imagine if that was just game 1 and Queensland were able to come back and have a fighting chance. That is a game that fans deserve to see, I think. Next year, the series will move to 2 games, but yeah, wow, how unbelievably annoying is that? If the series is tied, the winner of the previous year retains the shield. Boo, no one wants that. What we want is 3 games. The women are ready, and this is something that we need to make happen. Of course, I can't leave you without talking about the Cowboys or talking to a Cowboy. This week, I have a special treat. I've got an original Cowboy with me. This bloke ran out as one of the first Cowboys in the inaugural squad of 1995, the club's first year. He's definitely part of the club's history books. He is the namesake of the Adrian Vowles Cup, a grassroots competition that grows in participation every year. It's held at in the regional Queensland town of Charleville, one of the towns that Vowlesy grew up in. These days, he spends his time as the head coach of the Brisbane Tigers women's rugby league team and the head coach of the Fijian women's rugby league team. So not only is he a former Cowboy, he's a huge part of helping to grow the women's game, and he gets a huge thumbs up from me. Vowlesy, thank you for taking some time to come on Rugby League Outlaws. After that great Women's State of Origin match that was on Friday, I knew you'd be a great person to talk to about the game. Being the head coach of the Brisbane Tigers and the Fijian team, I know you're a huge advocate for women in this sport. You see firsthand how hard they work. So tell me, how great did you think the State of Origin match was the other night? The intensity, the skill, the passion?
Yeah, I thought the State of Origin, Women's State of Origin game was amazing and awesome. You know, I couldn't wait to watch it and to see which way it went. Obviously, I was going for Queensland, but you know, I know a lot of those players from both sides. You know, and there's some amazing talent on show. The intensity was next level, as it does. It gets better and better each year, and yeah, I really looked forward to it, and I wasn't disappointed. It was a great game of footy. So much skill. The skill level over the years has just improved 100%, and you know, it's amazing to watch. It's got its own audience level now, and I think you know, it just gets better and better, and I can't wait till next year.
There were some fantastic performances all over the field from both teams, but I'd like to know who stood out to you during the game and why they were your player of the match.
There were some amazing performances. I thought, you know, Isabel Kelly obviously got player of the match, and she had a strong game, and she's a strong player. I was really happy for Kira Dibb. I thought, you know, she sort of got shunted a bit. At one stage there, she was struggling to find an NRLW side, but then got to start with Newcastle. But she found her way in, and I thought she had a great game, great individual try. got plenty of talent as well, great kicking game, and so I was happy for her. Simone Mataufa, amazing. The work rate that she does for New South Wales probably goes unnoticed at times, but she gets a good go forward, sometimes takes 2 hit-ups in a set of 6, and it was amazing. And Caitlin Johnson, she's the fans' favourite. I've coached against her before when I was coaching Fiji against the Prime Minister's 13 over in Fiji, and she's a weapon and just strong. Even that kick-off, she took it on the full and ran back at full speed, and she shows that Origin's meant for her. But Destiny Brill for Queensland, I thought she was outstanding as well. And Lauren Brown, when she came off the bench, I thought she added a whole heap to Queensland's attack, and probably, to be fair, I think she should have started. And I thought Julia Robinson did a lot of work for Queensland. She's a talented player, but she had a big game for Queensland.
Now tell me, would you like to see the games go to 3 for the series? I know how excited I was after the game, had so much adrenaline pumping, but it was sobering when I remembered that there were no more games to come. Next year it will be a 2-game series, but ultimately, would you like a 3-game series for the women?
Definitely should be a 3-game series. It was a real anticlimax, knowing that there's not another game after that great game the other night. And I think, when you've got a 3-game or even a 2-game series, so much can happen, Teams can change. Some, if you lose, you might look at changing your team. There could be injuries. You could be, after that win, you might be able to come down off the clouds, and you're not there for the second game, so anything can happen. But a 3-game series, it evens it out, and the best team generally wins out of that three games. And I think the sooner that happens, the better it'll be for the women's game. And I for one, one game's not enough. I want to see 3 games. I want to see a repeat of the game we watched the other night. I want to see 3 games of that, and I think needs to happen sooner rather than later.
You know this game intimately as both a player and now a coach. Can I ask you about Todd Payten? How do you think he's been able to make such a difference to the squad in 2022?
Todd Payten's just doing a great job, and I think the difference this year is he's had another year with his squad. They're learning how he coaches. He goes into that new pre-season with just the systems are already in place. But I know that he, from reading all reports, he took the intensity level up to the next level, and made them work hard, took them to those dark, deep spots, which you've got to go to, because in a game you get tired and you want to give in. But if you're doing that and replicating that at training, it certainly makes it a lot easier in the games. And from all reports, that's what they've done in the preseason. But you got to unify as a team. That's if you're not unified as a team, it doesn't matter what you do on the training paddock. It won't go into games, but they're showing as a team, they're playing for each other, they're having fun, they never say die attitude, which is proven against Manly, that they believe they can win games, and I think that's a big difference. Now, they were learning new stuff last year, but they had another pre-season, and Todd's done an amazing job there, and it's so good to see how the Cowboys are playing, and let's hope we can win that grand final.
And lastly, who has been the Cowboys player that has impressed you the most in the first half of this season, and why?
So many good players. I think Chad Townsend's been a great buy. A lot of people question it, but I've always been a big fan of his and what he did at Cronulla, and it's showing. He's earning his money there and playing such a pivotal role. Tom Dearden, he's found where he needs to be as a player, and he's getting stronger and stronger. He's a terrific kid, great family, but he's playing some good footy. Drinkwater at the back is also playing excellent footy and plays like a second half as well, third half I should say, and then Valentine Holmes just gets better and better and playing some great footy, which is obviously transferred into Origin as well. It's just, and add in Ruben Cotter, who deservedly got a Queensland spot and hopefully be back for the third, but he's been outstanding, got a great injury on him, but everyone's just playing together. I've left a few out, but everyone's playing well as a team, and they're playing with a smile on their face, and they're playing great rugby league, and it's just great to see.
It's time to talk some black, white and blue. Of course, the rep round this week means no football in the Shire, which is always a shame, but we had plenty of boys on show across multiple games. Look, we'll talk about those in a minute, and of course, throw back to Terry. But for me, the highlight of the weekend was Sione Katoa, Ronaldo Mulatalo, one-on-one. Of course, representing Tonga and New Zealand respectively. Both the boys got a try on the other. I think Ronaldo just shaded it in terms of the metres run, a couple of tackle breaks. I think Katoa might have missed one tackle, had an absolute shocker. But it was so much fun seeing the boys go at it. There was one stage where Katoa absolutely got slaughtered by Ronnie, and the boys just embraced, gave each other a big hug, pat on the back. It's what we love to see. The boys representing us very proudly for their sides, both crossing for tries. And I'll tell you what, these two have got a real rivalry going in the try scoring. I think Katoa leads him 11-10 coming into this weekend, but Ronnie will get a couple on the weekend and lead if you ask me.
We've got to talk about our boys now. Sisi Fatalikai made his Origin debut, and congratulations to him. Hard work paid off. He's been in incredible form, whether it be in the centres or the back row or coming off the bench. So really, really pleased for him. He should keep his spot for Game 3. He didn't do anything right. He didn't do anything wrong. In the limited game time as well, he ran lots of decoys. It looked like that Cleary was going to pass the ball to him before he stepped inside and scored. And it's just the threat of Talakai. The Queensland defenders got sucked to him. So, it's incredible for him to be there. It's incredible to have a Shark at Origin time.
And of course, young Kyle Ero, playing for the Cook Islands, had an absolute wow of a game in fullback, which is an unfamiliar position. Of course, those that haven't seen young Ero play his trade for the Newtown Jets, he is predominantly a centre or a winger, but called to play fullback for the Cookies. Had an absolute belter. A lot of people on Twitter were saying, who's this young Cook Islands fullback? We've got to get a hold of him. Hands off, boys. He's a Jet, a future superstar Shark. Save this and play back to me in 3 years' time. Of course, we return to rugby league action this Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. at Combank Stadium. We'll have a full preview coming up in Top Sport. But look, there's a bus running via the CWSC, our great mates at the CWSC. Of course, leaving from Caringbah Inn. So make sure you check the socials to get on board. Both Terry, illness allowing, of course, and I will be there. It's going to be a big afternoon, and I dare say there'll be plenty of points scored. Bulldogs come in with a ridiculous record of points scoring over the past 2 weekends. They've been the entertainers across the past fortnight, but the Sharks have also come in off the back of 2 straight wins. I think it's going to be a classic victory. Of course I'm tipping a Sharks win, of course. But the best place to be is there. Come join us, let's have a beer or two and have some fun. Go the Sharks.
Time for some Top Sport tips. Our great friends at Top Sport. Obviously, I was one off getting a perfect round. Queensland let me down, but it is what it is in this situation. But we're going to start with the Melbourne Storm against the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. Now, rumours broke this morning that Ryan Pappenhausen is actually going to be back in the team. I'll wait for the confirmation of that this afternoon before I get too excited for this. Manly are in good form. They'll be seething that they blew that game against the Cowboys. You like to look for a bounce back. Unfortunately, they have to go to Melbourne and play the Storm in Melbourne. So it's not something that, you can really bounce back from because you're probably on a hiding to nothing as well. Cam Munster, is he going to play? Probably not, which means Nick Meaney will push into 5'8" if Pappenhausen is back. Jerome Hughes was fantastic for the Kiwis on the weekend. This to me just says nothing but a Melbourne Storm win. Probably going to back Ryan Pappenhausen for a try if he does play, because I really, really need the points for our draft league. I'm falling out of the top 5.
The return of Friday night evening game should be a cause for excitement because I have missed it. But then they go and put Newcastle versus the Titans on. Look, both teams coming in at $1.90 even because honestly, neither team can win a game of football. That said, Kalen Ponga is out, and for me that makes the Titans the favourites. I've said it every single week for like 100 weeks in a row now. AJ Brimson will be the difference. Please, AJ, make this the week it actually comes true. Titans in a close one, 1-12. This could be 6-0, could be 8-6. It's not going to be fun. If you have other plans, please take them, but Titans for mine.
Panthers and Roosters, look, this is going to be, this is 2 teams that hate each other, and they have hated each other for a long time. It stems back to Phil Gould and Brad Fittler leaving the Panthers and going to the Roosters. So I'm really looking forward to this game here. I don't know if Luke Keary's going to play or not. I don't really think that's going to matter with how the Panthers are playing at the moment. It's just going to depend on who's going to back up for them, whether both the halves will. Isaiah, is he going to come back? They had 7 players play Origin. Now, it wasn't a physical contest because New South Wales just ran over the top of them. Liam Martin came through unscathed. Stephen Crichton came through unscathed. Api Coruscant was brilliant in his opening stint. It wouldn't surprise me if all 7 of them backed up. it doesn't matter even if they have 4 or 5 back up. They're going to beat the Roosters in this one and continue their march to another minor premiership.
Up next is the game of the round as the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks head out to Combank Stadium to play the aforementioned Bulldogs. Both teams coming in on the back of 2 straight wins. Fairly handy wins too, if I do say so myself. You know, Matt Burton's coming back as one of the best players on the ground. Top 3 minimum. From Origin, of course, Sifa Talakai's coming in off a really good stint off the bench. Both teams are almost full strength. I think there may be 1 or 2 players missing, but it doesn't matter. The Bulldogs can name any side, the Sharks are still going to get them, or at least that is the hope. Gun to my head though, I'm going to tip the Sharks in a really, really close one. I think this will be the game of the round, and I legitimately mean that this week. Lots and lots of points, 28-26. Neither team really likes to defend, despite both having coaches that build their reputation on defence. I think throw it out the window. I can't wait for the Burton versus Hines kicking contest. The ball's going to go high. It's going to go far. You couldn't pay me enough to be a fullback this Saturday afternoon. Supposed to be wet and windy out at Combank too, which makes us favourites for mine, if you ask me. Sharks in a close one. I think we got just a little bit more skill, and of course we beat them in the trials, and we all know how much the trials matter.
We have a 4X Cup game this round, Dan. The Cowboys and the Broncos. Now the Cowboys can wrap up the 4X Cup. They're miles ahead at the moment in terms of points for, points against, and they've won every game that they've played in the 4X Cup so far. I am going to stick with the Cowboys to beat the Broncos this week. I think, you know, their Origin players are going to come back and, you know, want a little bit of revenge from the poor performance that they did put in. For the Broncos, look, is Payne Haas going to play? Probably not this week. Adam Reynolds will be back. It's going to be a good game. It's not going to be a flogging like it was in the first instance when these 2 teams played. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win this game. It's up in Townsville. They're going to have a big crowd up there. I think they'll win, and then they'll take that 4X Cup home.
And rounding out your Super Saturday, of course, is the South Sydney Rabbitohs versus Parramatta Eels. 2 teams that on their day can rip any team to shreds. But if neither team turn up on their day, this could be an absolute terrible game to watch. South Sydney were played off the park by little brothers, the Dragons, 2 weeks back. You know, the game was over by the time the 25th minute hit. If the Bunnies start slowly, the Eels will not take the foot off the pedal like the Dragons did a couple of weeks ago. This is Parramatta's game. I reckon they run up a cricket score against the hapless Bunnies. You know, Latrell Mitchell, by the time this comes out, will know whether he is back or not. I don't think it'll matter. In 2 weeks' time, it'll matter plenty because a fully fit Latrell completely transforms his team. Just a step too far for mine. I'm officially, right here, right now, Brian, I apologise, my friend, writing the Bunnies off for 2022. Parramatta, 13+.
Now, this is the game that we've probably all been waiting for, not because it's going to be a blockbuster, it's actually going to be a bludger. But the New Zealand Warriors, for the first time since 2020, will be on home soil, playing in front of their home crowd. Now, the New Zealand versus Tonga test match on the weekend, the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. I think it's going to be a party in the stands for the Warriors as well. It's going to be a party on the field for the Warriors. Now, I think they're going to win this game. They'll bounce back. Reece Walsh is going to put in an absolute blinder in this game here. The Tigers, look, they're done and dusted. They've got no answers. There's nothing on the football field for them. Noddy's working with the best of a bad bunch at the moment. The knockback of Cameron Serrata, which has already been touched on, just further setting this club backwards. Unfortunately for the Tigers, they are the first team to play the Warriors at home in their return. I think the crowd's going to get them over the line. Look for Sean Johnson for a big game. Is Ronald Volkman going to get his debut? Who knows? Reece Walsh for mine, though. He's going to be man of the match.
And rounding out your weekend of NRL action is the St George Illawarra Dragons against Canberra Raiders down in Wollongong, where they just ran absolutely riot against the probably equal to the Raiders Bunnies, if I do say so. This could be the sleeper for the game of the round. Honestly, you got Ben Hunt coming off, you know, he was Queensland's best player by an absolute mile this past Sunday night, although that's not saying much. Look, Canberra running high at the moment, had a couple of good wins, you know, a few losses thrown in there, but they're winning more than they're losing. I see nothing else other than like a ripper of a game. The lime green will get them just in the gong, 1-12, but get on it. This could be the game of the round.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Rugby League Outlaws, brought to you by our good friends at Punctured Media, Top Sports, onelittleFootyFan.com.au and the Stubby Club. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everyone. It's a shame that I was in quarantine this week, but I really miss seeing the big fellas there. So make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know what you think of the episode. Drop some comments below. Dan and I love getting your feedback. And Dan, as always,
Origin clean sweep, baby.